Hey guys, and welcome back to Ultra Game World, and today we are looking at a £750 PC build parts list. Now if you didn't check out last week's video, you should go and check it out. That was a £500 build that we put together. Today is a £750 build that we're going to look at. This is basically a parts list that I would recommend to anyone who's wanting to build their own PC today in June of 2021, here in the UK of course. So £750 does give us a little bit more leeway than our £500, and we've got a little bit more to spend, so we can obviously upgrade some of those parts. Now if you didn't see in the £500 video, we had a 6-core 12-thread processor, we had 8GB of RAM, and we had the GTX 1050 Ti. Now, for the £750 build, we're going to be able to upgrade those parts. We're going to be able to get a little bit more performance for your money. Now again, you might want to look at the pre-builds at this sort of price level, but if you really want to build your PC and you just can't wait, this is my little guide to the parts that you should be buying here in June 2021. So without further ado, let's crack on. So the CPU of choice is the Ryzen 3600. Now this is a 6-core 12-thread processor, and I would say this is the best value to performance processor that you can buy currently. Now yes, some people might say go down the Intel road, and Intel perfectly fine, you can go down that road as well. The reason why I would say, if you can, just try and stick with AMD and the Ryzen side, is that you have the AM4 support. So when you're buying a motherboard, as long as you buy at least a B550 motherboard and above, you will have future upgradability up into the 5000 series. So you will be able to go potentially up to a 5650X if you really needed to or wanted to, at a later date of course. Now the Ryzen 3600 is about £180 on Amazon, but I would look around because I think you can get a deal. That was our processor. I do think it's a really great processor, and it has been kind of the standard sort of budget gaming build processor for years now, and I would certainly go with that. Let's look at the motherboard now. Now with the motherboard, I would, if you can, try to go onto the B550 chipset. Now the B550 chipset is just a little bit better from your B450, and certainly in our previous video where we used the A320 chipset, the B550 is quite a step up from that. Mainly its support for PCI Express 4, as well as the NVMe PCI Express 4 as well that you'll have. So if you've got Gen 4 drives, you'll be able to use those drives as well and get the absolute best performance you can possible. Now the B550 motherboard we've chosen here is the Gigabyte B550M DS3H mATX board, and this is at about £75 on Amazon currently. Now obviously we have to choose a more budget build, so we have to choose more budget components for this build, as it's only £750, so we can't really go up to that sort of like £100 mark for the B550 boards. We really want to try and keep it as low as we can, and this Gigabyte board, at being £75, is about right for our budget here. Now again, if this is your own build, I wouldn't have any problems going down to B450, providing you can get it for around sort of £50, maybe £60 at absolute most. B550 is going to give you, as I said, better features and potentially a better upgrade path later down the line if you do go on to better processors, as it will give you potentially better cooling and better VRM support, and it's just, you know, obviously it is just a better board and a better chipset. But the B550 is perfectly fine as well, and you can go up to the Ryzen 5000 series with B450. So as long as you're buying the B450 at the right price, you know, if you're paying £75, that's too much really for a B450 board. Again here, if you want to look down the used market, you might be able to get yourself a really good deal of like 40 quid for a B450, which would be a really good bargain. And the reason why I would basically not go down the Intel route is because of the motherboards. You're probably going to have to pay about £80–90 just for even a basic sort of Intel motherboard, and it just isn't going to be that great. Sorry, the AM4 socket is just such a great socket, as you can go all the way up to the very high end processors as well. Now moving on to the RAM, we have, because we've got a little bit more budget now, 16 gigabytes, which is a really good plus. And certainly in 2021, I think it's almost essential really to have 16 gigabytes. Previous build we had to go with 8 gigabytes, but that's because we were really low on budget. £500 really for a new PC isn't much at all. So we've got a little bit more leeway here, and we've gone with 16 gigabytes in a 8 gigabyte kit, so 2 8 gigabyte sticks. 3200 megahertz, the Crucial Ballistix. Now Crucial is a really good brand. I would certainly advise people buy Crucial memory. I think it's got great compatibility with almost any motherboard, whether you're going down Intel or whether you're going down AMD. And yeah, it's just very good RAM, and I would certainly recommend it. So we're paying £75 here for this RAM, and I think it's a good deal. And you can go down buying fancy RGB RAM, but it's just not really needed. And personally, I would just buy normal RAM, save yourself a little bit of money, and put that onto buying a better graphics card, because that's where you're going to get the ultimate better performance for gaming. And moving on to that graphics card, it is a GeForce GTX 1650 4GB. This is the Gigabyte card, or the Gigabyte version, shall we say. This is from CCL, and this is £220, which is a little bit expensive, I must admit. And for just a standard 1650, I certainly wouldn't really be paying this money, but again, with GPU crisis that we're in, sometimes you just got to pay the money, and you've just got to put it over the counter and say, yeah, I want it. Again, if you can look at the used market, I would certainly try and get a better deal than this. 220 certainly is quite a lot for a graphics card, and this was like 1660 Super territory only like last year, so you really are not getting a lot for your money here. But again, as I was saying, we're in GPU crisis and prices are all over the place, so I still think a 1650 is capable. You are going to be able to get 1080p with most games. If you've got a very demanding game like Cyberpunk, yes, you're probably still going to have to come down to maybe 900p or even 720p if you really had to. But any esports game is going to be perfectly fine for 1080p gaming here with 1650. And generally, they are very quiet, and so if you can, try and get the two fan version rather than one fan, because it will just be a bit quieter as well. Let's move on to storage now. I've gone with a 1TB NVMe drive here. I think with our bigger budget we can afford this. I certainly would look at getting a 1TB NVMe. It's just going to have more room. You could go down the whole 240GB SSD with your 1TB hard drive, and it would kind of cost near enough the same amount. But I kind of want to avoid hard drives altogether nowadays. We're in 2021, and hard drives are kind of a thing of the past for me. They're old and rattly and just bad, really. I just don't like them. They take obviously a long time to load up stuff, and it just feels like old technology now, and I don't really want to be spending new money into old technology these days. Yes, if you've got a 1TB kicking around, put that in your system, it'll still be perfectly fine. I just wouldn't buy it new, and I just wouldn't put that into new now, especially now. A 1TB NVMe drive is now £85, so this one we've got here, perfectly fine from WD Blue. From WD, should I say. So yeah, moving on to the power supply. We have again had to kind of cheap out here because we just don't have the extra budget. It's the same one as we used in the previous build, the 500 watt Aerocool Cylon. Perfectly fine, again £27, it's budget, it's great. in terms of getting our price down and being able to put that onto better things like the graphics card and what have you. It will do its job. It'll be perfectly fine. There's not really much more to say about it. And again, the case, and again, not too much to say about this. This is the one we used from the previous build. It's the TechWare NEXUS M BLACK mATX case. Perfectly fine. 2 fans, going to be okay. You don't have to buy any separate fans. You can buy, obviously, the RGB fans if you want to, but probably wouldn't. Again, it's just going to extend your budget, and it's just not worth it. Perfectly fine case, £35, good for our budget. Altogether, we're looking at a total of £695 and 15p, and I think that's a pretty decent build. Now, obviously, we had a 750 budget, so we're obviously about £50 below that. So again, you could spend a little bit more on your power supply and maybe a little bit better of a case. You may even want to spend maybe £250 on a graphics card if you can get a better graphics card than the 1650. If you've maybe got an offer for a 1650 Super, I'd probably consider that. Certainly if you've got a 1660 for around 250, I would certainly go with that. Or maybe even something like a 5500 XT, I would certainly get that for 250 currently. If it's available and if you can find the deal. Probably used market is going to be your best bet on this one. You're not going to see many £250 graphics cards these days for new, which are actually good. You know, they're going to be most likely they're going to be the 1650, even up to about 250 or even £300, unfortunately. Again, you might want to look down the pre-build route. There's going to be quite a few options around this price point, and you probably will be able to get better components than we've currently got. But again, if you're adamant of building your own PC, just go ahead and do it if you want to. I mean, it's totally up to you. It's your choice. I certainly wouldn't say don't do it. I would say, obviously, look around, get the best prices that you can. Obviously, do your research. Look at maybe previous videos I've done, how to build the PC and what have you. Make sure you're comfortable with doing it. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to have your own gaming PC, and if you want to go and build your own, just go and build your own. It's still possible, even in June 2021. The parts are still out there. I mean, I keep hearing of there's no parts at all, or there's absolute shortage, but there isn't really. There is still a lot of parts available, and the parts are actually, obviously not the graphics card, but overall I'd say parts are actually going down, if anything. Obviously graphics cards have gone through the roof and are all crazy, but cases are coming down, PSUs are coming down, storage is certainly coming down, RAM is kind of staying the same, motherboards and CPUs are kind of staying the same as well, but we're certainly seeing reductions on, like I said, case, PSU and storage. And I do think overall it's not that bad of a time to build. If you specifically want a gaming PC, it isn't the best time, of course. I mean, certainly if you're looking at office PC, this would be a really good time to build. You know, you're going to get a really good sort of office PC for probably even like £300, £400 even now. So, but it's all what you want and what you decide to choose. So, again, let me know any comments down below. Do you agree with my build? What would you change? Would you do anything different? Would you go pre-built now, or would you still want to build your own? So please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.